Listen, y'all, I am glad we got that win because if we didn't and we had dropped three in a row, things would have gotten real shitty real quick. But Jalen Hurts had one hell of a game. We'll talk about him in the recap of the Week 7 win over the Minnesota Vikings, plus a special return to the Philadelphia Eagles, how Jalen Hurts made history, and what do we need to do to get revenge on the New York Giants going into Week 8. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. What's up, y'all, and welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. This was the bounce back game that the Birds needed, y'all. They went into Minnesota and came out with a 28-22 win in which Jalen Hurts went 19 for 23 for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, along with achieving an 82.6% pass completion rate and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. Our wide receiver duo showed us why they still remain one of the best wide receiver duos in this league, with A.J. Brown achieving 4 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Devontae Smith puts up 9 catches with a single-game career-high 183 yards and a touchdown of his own. When the ground game isn't spectacular, and we'll talk about that, the Birds can still get it done in the air. Before we go into our key takeaways from this game, let's dive into some Eagles news. Starting off, the Eagles have signed a familiar name back to the practice squad for some O-line relief. The Birds have signed guard Sua Opeta to the practice squad, and I imagine he'll be elevated for this week's game with all the injuries we've been having, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next, cornerback Jacorian Bennett's 21-day practice window has been opened and was a limited participant at practice today. Jacorian Bennett had an unspecified injury a few weeks ago, putting him on IR, but now we know it was a pectoral injury, which kind of was a surprise to me. But anyway, while he didn't have the best start, Bennett's return adds some depth in a corner room that's been dealing with injuries and inconsistency. If he's good to go come Sunday, I got to imagine that we're going to see a lot of him rotating in and out with Keely Ringo. Next, the Eagles released the Wednesday injury report, and it is long, y'all. Those who did not practice today include A.J. Brown, dealing with hamstring, Adoree Jackson, concussion, Cam Jurgens, knee, Azeez Ojulari, hamstring, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. with an ankle injury. Under limited participation, they had Jacorian Bennett, pectoral, Grant Calcaterra, oblique, Landon Dickerson, ankle and back. I don't know how you do that, but anyway. Dallas Goedert, calf, and Moro Ojomo, shoulder. Defensive end Brandon Graham, who we're going to talk about, was a full participant. And now the A.J. Brown thing, that was a little unexpected. And I'm hoping it's just a stinger. I know he's been dealing with this hamstring like on and off a few times now, and I'm hoping it's nothing serious. Plus, there were reports that since it was a midweek practice, some veterans weren't practicing for maintenance reasons, and hopefully A.J. Brown's hamstring falls under that, that maintenance, just giving him a chance to rest so he doesn't tweak it more come Sunday. But we'll find out later in the week with the final injury report. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, though, on why we can't seem to stay healthy, but we just got to get through Sunday's game, and then we will have a much-needed bye week. This kind of reminds me of last year's situation a little bit, which should give the players some ample time to recover from their injuries and possibly, just possibly, welcoming back some, like Nolan Smith Jr., back from IR. And finally, the biggest piece of news, I accidentally spoiled it in the last bit, but anyway, On Monday evening, it was reported that former defensive end and two-time Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham is coming out of retirement, signing with the Philadelphia Eagles per Adam Schefter. And on Tuesday, the Birds made it official, signing him to a one-year deal. The amount, though, was, I think, unspecified at the time that I'm recording this. And he will be going into his 16th season, y'all. That is a lot of fucking football. Graham missed a large chunk of what was originally his final year last year due to a tricep injury. However, he came off IR just in time to play in the Super Bowl, where he played just around, I want to say, 13 defensive snaps. Obviously, BG is amazing. His story of his career is incredible, and I love having him back, and the city probably loves having him back too, especially because, one, he's fucking awesome, but two, we got a lot of injuries in the edge rushing group right now, and I got to imagine, though, we might not see a ton of snaps from him overall. We might not possibly even see him come this week's game, but who knows? That could change. Regardless, he provides a strong veteran presence, and he's already has a great relationship, not only with the majority of the players, but with the coaching staff as well. He's familiar with Vic Fangio's scheme, and he just brings that strong, wise leadership role that I feel like this team needs to get their sense of identity back. At the very least, I think we'll see him week 10. At the most, I'm hoping we see him on Sunday. But whatever the case may be, I absolutely love this signing. Some people want to be like, I don't love the signing. It messes with his story. And like shit like that, y'all. First of all, it's not our story to write or our decision to make. It's Brandon Graham's. If he wants to come out of retirement, he is damn well within his rights to do so, no matter what story it creates or changes within our minds. It's his fucking story to write, and obviously, he decided that it wasn't finished after all. BG is a locker room icon, a well-established veteran, and even if he doesn't play much, this is a beneficial signing for the whole team. Welcome back, number 55. Can't wait to see what you have in store of us for year number 16. All right, y'all, let's dive into some takeaways from this Week 7 win over the Minnesota Vikings. First takeaway I have is Jalen Hurts can absolutely throw the fucking football. Last week, Jalen didn't necessarily have a bad game. However, he did have some key overthrows that, at the very least, could have made that game against the Giants just a little bit closer. This time, he was on fucking point and literally perfect. Only 4 incompletions on the day to achieve almost an 83% pass completion rate and making Eagles franchise history, becoming just the 3rd QB to achieve a perfect passer rating. Jalen's passes were on point, perfectly placed, clear communication pre and post snap, including the nonverbal communication you can see coming from Jalen Hurts, the pointing and shit that led to AJ Brown's first touchdown, as well as the pre-snap communication for AJ to motion over, which was called by Jalen, that would lead to Brown's second touchdown. He also wasn't afraid to take any risks, such as going for it on 4th and 4. He also wasn't afraid to take risks, such as going for it on 4th and 4, and the deep ball pass against the number 2 passing defense in the league. He showed some fucking guts, and it benefited him because he threw a fucking 80-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith, y'all. And I gotta imagine that in those specific moments, that was more of Jalen's mindset versus Kevin Patullo's. But back to the main point. There has been a lot of criticism over the years that Jalen Hurts can't throw the football. Well, this game proved that, or at least should prove all of that wrong. Almost 330 yards on 19 completions. That is just over 17 yards per completion. And if you're doing the math on all the attempts, that is an average of almost 14 yards per attempt. And people want to bitch about how he can't throw past 10 yards. Bitch, every average throw from him was over 10 yards. His longest completion was for the 80-yard bomb, with like 50 to 55 of those yards being in the air. Plus, all that was against a defense that had yet to allow a 200-plus yard passing game against any opponent. And for those who want to say, oh, one game doesn't matter, one game doesn't change anything, Michael, those are the same type of motherfuckers that were criticizing him and have been criticizing him over the results of one game in the past. So they can sit the fuck down. Once again, Hurts proves to haters that he can do what they say that he can't do. When something isn't working, Jalen proves that yet again, no matter what, he has multiple ways of winning games, and in this one, it was in perfect fashion. Next takeaway, and I don't necessarily like this one, but where the fuck is our run game? Because it hasn't shown up yet. While Kevin Patullo made adjustments by having Jalen Hurts use play action under center more, which led to this awesome passing game, Patullo seems to have yet to make the same type of adjustments in our run game. We only achieved 55 total rushing yards on the day and just 617 yards on the season. That's in the bottom 4 of the league. We are also in the bottom 2 in yards per carry, and we haven't had a single carry for over 30 yards. That is way behind compared to where we were this time last year. However, though, we are in the top 10 in total rushing touchdowns, so that's a positive thing. But with the injuries on the O-line and the lack of success we've seen with this monotonous, predictable type of run play calling, it's evident that things have got to change. Next takeaway. Our defense improved noticeably over last week. However, there is an eerie pattern I hope they break out of soon. Nakobe Dean back on the field and sliding Jihad Campbell out to the edge was just chef's kiss, y'all. Just a smart move by Fangio and company. With the duo of Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean back on the field, they would combine for a total of 16 tackles and 1 tackle for loss, which I believe came from Nakobe Dean. Not a bad game from Campbell on the edge. He logged 3 tackles. Not a bad game, but nothing super spectacular. Overall, this defense would log 62 total tackles, 2 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 3 pass deflections, 8 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions, and 1 defensive touchdown. A much better performance than Week 6 game. The Vikings were able to get in the red zone 6 times though, which I didn't necessarily love. However, what matters the most was that our red zone defense was on fucking point, allowing only 1 touchdown in the red zone, forcing the Vikings to make 5 field goals. 1 for 6 in the red zone, that's pretty fucking good from our defense. However, there is a pattern occurring, specifically in the second half of these games, that I hope we do not continue to fall into, and that is we out here giving teams a chance, y'all. The Bucs came back to almost win. The Broncos and the Giants tore us up in the second half, and then the Vikings climbed their way up from a 14-6 lead at the half. They put up 16 points to our 14 points. Now, this week wasn't catastrophic, nor did it cost us the game by any means, but to have several games in a row where our defense is getting cooked and allowing a ton of second half points, we got to clean this up before it catches up to us again. I'm not trying to let that take away from how well our defense did in this game, because for the most part, they did great. I just don't want to see this pattern continue and eventually come to bite us in the ass again like it did in those back-to-back losses. All right, last takeaway that I got. I am still worried about the cornerback 2 position. Now, in my last episode, I was saying that Jordan Addison would probably have a career game if Adoree Jackson or Kelee Ringo were on the field at the same time, or if that one of them was in coverage of Addison the entire game. While it wasn't Addison's best career game overall, this was his best career game for receptions and his 3rd best game for receiving yards since December of 2023. I knew this shit was going to happen. I do feel bad, though, that he got hurt. Don't get me wrong. That sucks, and I really feel for him. I don't like the fact that he got hurt. But with Quinion covering the main threat in Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison was able to thrive with 9 catches for 128 yards, while mainly under the coverage of Adoree Jackson, then by Kelee Ringo in relief after Jackson's injury. Moving forward, we're going to be facing wide receiver duos like George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb again, We're going to face Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. We're going to face Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel twice. These aren't easy duos to go against. And Quinyon can't cover both of the receivers at the same time. I still think that we need to trade for someone like Denzel Ward, especially if Adoree Jackson is out more than we think and Jacorian Bennett isn't ready come week 8. And we need to do this soon because this trade deadline is coming up, y'all. The trade deadline is November 4th. So if we are going to make some big trade, we got to do that, John, like ASAP. All right, y'all, let's shift gears and talk about the week 8 preview. So the Birds head back to Philadelphia and will don the Kelly Green throwback jerseys for the first time this year as we face the New York Giants yet again, twice in just 3 weeks. The Eagles are coming off a fantastic win over the Vikings and are looking for revenge after that Week 6 beatdown, while the Giants are coming off a loss thanks to a fourth quarter comeback by the Broncos. Here's what I think the Birds need to do to get revenge and a win over the Giants this Sunday. First things first. We gotta stop the Giants' run game early. We're letting a rookie running back run all over us. We let Donnie from the Wild Thornberries get a fucking hat trick on us last week. But this week, that shit's gotta get shut down. I'm not 100% sure that Brandon Graham will be ready come Sunday, so if that is the case, you gotta keep Campbell out on the edge for now and have our original interior linebacker duo like we had in this past game, and then we'll need him on the edge as it looks like Azeez Ojulari won't be able to play this Sunday. We cannot allow ourselves to let Jackson Dart extend the play with his legs, and we cannot allow Cam Skattebo to literally bulldoze us like he did last time. Now this time though, we will have Quinyon Mitchell for a full game, and we'll have Nakobe Dean and Jalen Carter back, which is a huge plus because they love to and can get to the quarterback quickly. So I do feel like that is going to make a noticeable difference this time around. But New York's run game with both Dart and Skattebo, they were terrific against us, but we cannot allow that to be repeated. If we shut down the run and do it early, then they're going to lean more on their passing game. And with most of our secondary and even some of our linebackers we have, I'm more confident in their passing defense ability than I am in our run defense right now. Next thing, and I said this last time, I'm saying it again, add secondary support to the side that our cornerback 2 is on. Keely Ringo, I would assume, will be the starter and get the majority of the snaps going into this game. If Bennett's healthy, we'll see that rotation. But Ringo got cooked last time against depth wide receivers, mind you that. We got to support that side of the field because Jackson Dart can extend the play with his legs and in the pass game. And if we allow him a bunch of time, the receiver on Ringo's side will get past him, and that receiver will become Dart's favorite target all night long. We saw Jordan Addison become Carson Wentz's favorite target because Justin Jefferson was getting clamped down by Quinyon Mitchell and overall accumulated just under 80 yards. But that other side of the field, it thrived. So we have to support the CB2 on that side of the field. Drop Jahad Campbell back on a few plays to disrupt routes. Bring Andrew Makuba up or Blankenship more towards the middle of the field if Quinyon locks down the other receiver in man coverage. Because if we don't do this, I feel like that side of the field will be the go-to target for Jackson Dart and we'll get cooked again, especially on those third down plays because we were not successful at stopping third down conversions last time. Our defense especially on third and long situations, they're going to have to look to Ringo's side of the field because I can almost guarantee that's where Jackson Dart is going to look for passes. Next thing I think we need to do, this is probably a simple one, play Jalen Hurts under center more. We saw how successful that shit was playing under center in play action. All year long before the Vikings game, there were only 5 under center play action plays called. The Eagles ran 4 in week 7 alone, and Jalen Hurts was perfect. He was 4 for 4 for over 120 yards and a score. Keep utilizing under center play action, but just be strategic about it. Don't do it every first or second down. Utilize it more often, and we will see more success. And finally, for the love of God, spice up this damn run game. Up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. It's week fucking 7 and all we've seen is Saquon up the middle. Kevin Patullo. It isn't fucking working. Patullo was able to make philosophical changes in the pass game. Now you gotta do that shit in the run game. We cannot continue to allow predictability with this continuous inside zone plays. It's killing our run game. We have to mix it up. Utilize our fullback in Cam Latu in power plays. Shit, get tricky with it and maybe hand him the ball off every now and then. Use counter, pin and pull, or get Goddard in the backfield and do some of that shovel shit that we were seeing in the red zone where he scored 4 touchdowns off those types of plays. Use some jet sweeps, fucking wheel routes, anything that is different at this point. If we want people to stop thinking and complaining that our offense is predictable, then we gotta make adjustments that don't make us predictable. All right, before we cap this episode off, let's go over our predictions. So, this is a revenge game for Philly, and I gotta imagine they're coming into this game with that intensity of a revenge game. I just hope they can remain level-headed and not let the concept of revenge cloud logical decision-making. The Giants play better than their record indicates. However, the Giants are coming to the Link this time, and playing there is a whole different atmosphere. The Giants got their win in the first matchup, but I think the Birds take the W in this one. I'm predicting a 31-23 win for the Birds, and I'm predicting that we see Saquon get into the end zone, especially since he didn't last game. I also see Dallas Goedert, if he plays, getting into the end zone once. I'm predicting that Devontae Smith will see the end zone, and I think Jalen Hurts makes an improvement in the run game from last week, and we see him get into the end zone on the ground, capped off by a Jake Elliott field goal. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at 2nd and 15 or by the full name 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, Pocket Casts, Deezer, wherever you get your podcasts, with the video uploading to YouTube later that same day. This episode, 2nd and 15, and Old City Sports Network are brought to you by Chickies and Pete's, the Drexel Hill location. Voted #1 sports bar in North America by ESPN, check out the Drexel Hill location of Chickies and Pete's. From buffalo wings and snow crab to lobster cheesesteak and burgers, you can find something for everybody at Chickies and Pete's. Once again, thanks y'all for joining in. This is 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast powered by Old City Sports Network. Don't forget to check out this Week 8 divisional rival matchup this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox. We'll see y'all next week. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds!